such a long gap since your last rock climbing venture?
Well, yeah, so I lived and worked in Yosemite National Park for almost a year. And, like, literally I climbed full-time for, like 8 or 9 months. Mostly at the valley, but then I also went to Arizona and climbed for a month, and then I went to Mexico and climbed for a month. And then, but partly that was because I knew, because I was trying to get into film school, because I wanted to change careers and get into the film industry. So I was kind of like, oh, I'm going to go to school, and I love being in school, but one of the things that I do when I'm in school is, like, I'm in school and that's what I'm doing. So I knew I probably wasn't going to be able to climb and adventure and stuff very much, so I was like, I'll do it as much as I can now. And sure enough, I came here. Well, and the other thing is I didn't have any climbing partners. I didn't, like when you're living in Yosemite and everyone's a rock climber and there's rock climbing everywhere, it's like you can go climbing before work, after work, during your lunch break, like, because you basically be like, I'm sitting next to you and you're a rock climber and I'm a rock climber, so we can go whenever we want. And then, coming to film school, you're like, nobody climbs and nobody knows how and nobody has the gear, and I'm not a local, so I don't know where there is any place to go, and I'm poor, so I don't have the money, So fast forward like 2 years and I haven't climbed at all.
Australian rock climbing back in the States.
Well, it's funny because when I went to my first major expedition was in '99, and I went to Mexico for like 6 weeks. And while I was there, I met a guy who was actually a famous rock climber, but I didn't know him at the time. I found out afterwards. Julian Saunders, who is Australian, and he's actually a I forget what the name is that he is, but he's like a sports medicine doctor, and like he's such a good climber that he's been featured on like the covers of climbing magazines and stuff. But he also has a monthly like column in several both Australian and American climbing magazines. And anyway, so I met him and his wife, who's Brazilian, I think, who's so hot. And it was amazing because they're both really fit, they're both really good climbers, they were both really good looking. It was just kind of like they were like a power couple, And they just like traveled the world and had adventures and did awesome shit. And I was like, I want to be like that, But anyway, so he was like, oh, you think the climbing is good here? It's like, you need to come to Australia. So I was like, okay. So I was in Mexico for like 6 weeks. And then I went home, and I was like, well, I'll just go to Australia because I met a cool guy in Mexico who was like, come to Australia, so I will. So I came here and climbed for like 6 weeks. Which, ironically, he was gone on expedition, so I came here, and the only person I knew in the country, who I didn't really even know very well, was gone. So I ended up going to Arapiles and climbing all by myself, which Arapiles is outside of Melbourne. So I knew that there was really good climbing here, and there's certain places in the world, like the circuit, so to speak, that everybody knows about. So like if you're going to go to France, you go to either Verdun Gorge or Verdun Gorge, or you go to like Fontainebleau. Those are like the places in France. Like if you're climbing in the UK, like you go to the Peak District, like that's where you go. If you're climbing in Spain, you go to I can't think of the name, but it's on the coast. Starts with the M. Anyway, and like if you go to Australia, you either go to the Blue Mountains or you go to Arapiles, or I can't think of the other place. But anyway, so there's a couple places that are really big that are known in Australia and that are famous.
What have you climbed in Australia?
Well, as I was kind of alluding towards earlier, I came here on expedition in '99 and climbed exclusively in Arapiles, which is 3-ish hours northwest of Melbourne, and out in the middle of nowhere. And but it's beautiful. It's it's all Aboriginal land. It used to belong to some tribe, and Rapley's, or it's actually known as Djurite. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. D-J-U-R-I-T-E.
The joint.
And that's the Aboriginal term for Arapalis, and it's actually beautiful out there. But other than bouldering around in Sydney a bit, like that's the only place I've climbed in Australia so far.
Your mother thought. Alright, I'm gonna, yeah. Cool.
It is cool. It is cool. It's pretty cool.
Pretty cool.